Hey everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link virtual studios. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is off in the wild blue yonder as she goes flying to an assignment, as they say in the news business. It's a little different for us, but still. Stan Robinson Jr. though is here. How you doing, Stan?
Doing fantastic, Bob. Good to see you.
Good, good, good. So, y'all have probably heard a version of this phrase by now. AI probably won't take your job, but someone who knows AI probably will. This is why knowing how to effectively use and leverage AI tools has become essential for, well, anyone in business, especially sales pros, marketers, business development experts, and especially those who manage those people. And we're not forgetting about entrepreneurs either. They especially need to know AI and the many roles it can take to help them out with their businesses. And there's really a lot there. AI is great at generating insightful responses based on the prompts that you provide. However, many users struggle to get optimal results due to common pitfalls in prompt writing. Now, Stan, I don't know about you, but I hear people struggling to get their prompt sessions right. Is that something that you're hearing too?
Yes, there is frustration as more and more people start to use these tools and try to figure out how to talk to them to get the best results. So I look forward to diving in here.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it with with the first thing in our agenda. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, we do have an ebook that goes along with this. It is free. It's at socialsaleslink.com/mistakes. If you're watching us live right now, we have a QR code at the upper right. I'm pointing.
Yep,
There it is,
that's it.
right there. You can use the QR code or just type that URL in. It'll do a little redirect to a much longer URL, but that is where you will download it. And again, it is free to do so. So, Stan, why don't we get into our little agenda here with number one?
Great. So, first mistake a lot of folks make is failing to give the AI enough context. So, in the world of AI, at least as things stand right now, context is king, so to speak. You could think of AI as a super smart intern, but one who is totally unfamiliar with your company. So you need to give them details about the context of what you want them to do. For example, rather than saying just write a great marketing plan for my business, well, it's going to be a different marketing plan if you're a pharmaceutical company in a highly regulated industry, if you're a startup, if you're a manufacturer. So being specific about I'm a pharmaceutical company developing, different types of medicines, write a marketing plan for my pharmaceutical company. Our audience is X, Y, and Z. Use social media, email marketing, blogs. And so the more specific, the better. Bob, any thoughts on that one
Yeah, I
on your
mean,
end?
for me, it goes back to an old saying that if you've ever been involved with the BNI networking groups, it's be specific to get terrific. They like those types of things. I don't know why, but anyhow, it really does apply here. You really need to be specific so that the AI rather doesn't start going off on its own tangents or whatever. Because believe me, it will if you let it. You have to rein it in. And we talk about the crispy prompt formatting that we teach here, and whether you use that or something else, properly formatted prompts are the key to really help you get exactly what you need out of AI. So we're going to go from not providing enough context to something else which is closely related, and that's a lack of specificity. So, context and specificity are two things that are really needed in terms of prompts. And again, the crispy framework automatically brings those because of how we have how we have it there. But being specific is really crucial when you're crafting your prompts. General inquiries just don't cut it anymore. Quite frankly, they never have cut it. But a general inquiry like, how do I increase sales? Without, not only context that Stan was talking about, but the specificity is what you need to have there. So instead of using how to increase sales, you may want to say something like, what techniques can I use to increase sales in a competitive online market for my X product or X service or whatever, or for my company, comma, your company name, and maybe even toss in the main URL of the company that you work for as well. Because when you provide clear, specific language, you're really guiding the AI to narrow down its responses to give you the best results. Because otherwise, it's going to be that chippy chirpy, very very intelligent intern that's going to be like, well, what about this, or what about this, or what about that? Because the interns really want to help. AI really wants to help too. You really need to. I was going to say constraint. Constraint is not the right word. You really need to have it focus in on exactly what it is you're looking for, Stan.
Yep, yep, totally agree. So a lot of the work that goes into using AI effectively takes place off of AI because it has to do with clarity as far as what you want from the tool. So you want to think about that beforehand, because one of the most powerful skills going forward working with these tools is the ability to ask the right
Right.
questions.
Yep.
And while AI can help you with that, and we'll give some examples, you need to be strategic about the questions that you're asking.
And I want to go back really quick to that quote that I had at the very top of the show about people who know AI may take your job. If you go in and you're saying, "Oh yeah, I know AI," and then you type in a really generic prompt, it generates something for you, and then you go to a boss, or worse yet, you're an entrepreneur and you go out to the market with this very general idea type of thing, you're going to get buried. Whether the market's going to bury you or your boss is going to bury you. That's why you really need to really learn and embrace not doing these mistakes, because AI, I mean, without a doubt, it's a very powerful tool when used right. If you use it incorrectly, man, you'll go in so many different directions. And, it's just like what the World Wide Web was when we first started that, many millions of years ago, it seems like. You're going to go down rabbit holes. And the next thing you know, it's an hour later. AI, when used properly, can also save you a lot of time. So that's a good one there.
Yeah,
So next,
good.
who's going next? Is it you or me?
Yeah, I think it's me because we've kind of
Yes.
alluded to this, but the third mistake people make is giving up too
Yep.
quickly. And that goes back to what we were just talking about in terms of asking the right questions. Because when you ask the right questions, you're going to get answers that are closer to what you are looking for. But ChatGPT, even though OpenAI is not the best when it comes to naming conventions, the chat part of ChatGPT is super accurate. The idea is not to ask one question and get the exact answer that you need, because this is not Google. This is a different experience. The idea is to go back and forth. So just like if you had the super smart intern, you gave him an assignment, she came back and presented it. It wasn't quite what you needed. Well, you wouldn't just give up. You would say, okay, this is where we need to fine tune. Could you look further into this? And I didn't even think about asking this question. You just reminded me. So could you also address this other issue? So your attitude when using these LLM models should be, this is not a one and done question. This is the beginning of a discussion. And as Bob said, the tool wants to make you happy.
Yes.
Um, so that's why it's going to come back with an answer, even if you give it a very general question. So just be willing to go back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah. So the key word here is conversation. And the first couple times you're going to do it, if you haven't done it yet, it's going to feel weird to have a conversation with AI. Trust me, you'll get over it. You'll get over it very, very quickly. So, feel free to tell it, okay, this part was great, but this part we need to work on. Please, please go ahead and redo this part and then have it work on that. And then, you can even go back a little later to something else that was mentioned up before. And it's like, well, now that we've worked with parts B and C, part A is a little out of whack, considering that we've changed parts B and C now. Let's go back and make sure that A flows into B and C. I mean, these are the types of conversations, like Stan said, you would have with an intern, you would have with coworkers on a team or whatever. You are the one who is in command. You need to be the one leading the AI to do what it is you want to do. And we all know that, what is called one-shot prompting really doesn't work. You really need to guide things much more to get exactly what it is you're looking for. And you may be thinking, well, geez, that's just going to take more time. It's really not going to take more time. You're still going to save time in the long run if you know how to not only initially prompt it, but to really steer it in the direction that you want it to be in. And even with crispy prompting, you're still going to need to probably get things clarified. Or if it goes astray, it's like, no, I don't want that. I want this instead, because LLMs aren't infallible. They still do hallucinate sometimes. They still may like seize on a point that you didn't even know that you made and expand on that, and you're like, no, 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 I don't want that, I want this instead. Again, it's a conversation. It's about persistence, because persistence is going to yield better results.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Exactly. The models are getting
Yes.
smarter. They are getting better at asking you to be more specific if you don't start
Yep.
that way. So the intern in our example is getting smarter and
Mm.
smarter. So that's one
Yeah, it's
good
like an
thing.
intern on
But
day
you
one
still,
versus like the last 2 or 3 days of the internship, where it's like, boy, I could just hire this person right now. I mean, AI is probably not like quite that close, but there is going to be a progression made, and AI has already made its progression on its own, especially just using the chat GPT world, when it went from 3 to 4 to 4.0 and all those weird four variations to the 5 that we have nowadays. And things have really progressed on the tech side as well when it comes to AI. Yeah.
exactly.
So now I'm
Exactly.
going to go on to number 4, which is something that we've just been talking about: one shot prompts. So, effective prompt writing is important, but that dialogue coming up afterwards is every bit as important. So, you do need to ask follow-up questions. You do need to request elaboration. If you're looking at something and it's like, that doesn't seem quite right, can you give me the source on that? To have it give you a source on what it found for you if you are asking it to research, because you can limit AI to just what's in the conversation, and like any documents you might upload for it to include in whatever task that you want. If it's like a sales projection based on previous sales and things like that, you can tell it to focus only on what's uploaded in the chat and do not research outside as well. And that's just one of the mind-blowing things when it comes to AI. I mean, it really is amazing. But again, you have to take command. You have to be the conductor on the train to keep it on the rails. I think that's probably the
Yeah.
easiest, the most succinct way to put it, I think, Stan.
Yep. Yep. And one of the things about keeping it on the rails is giving examples to the model in your prompt so it knows what good looks like for you. So whether it's an example of a blog post or a plan, Whatever you can do as far as giving the model an example, it will help
Yeah.
tremendously.
So we just had a question. What is crispy prompting? Since it's just me running the show, I'm not going to actually put the quote on there, but Doug Heron, I believe it's pronounced. So as as I reach down, we have developed this book. We do have free ebooks surrounding it too. Prompt writing made easy with the crispy framework. So it's a specific framework that when you use it, and we have all types of examples, not only here, but we provided examples in so many different places. It's amazing, but it's a really good way to start that conversation with specificity, with guardrails already in the conversation so that hopefully the AI, the LLM will continue on the track that you have laid out for it. You can find Crispy at Amazon. I really wasn't thinking about pushing the book, and if you want to buy it, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. We also do have an ebook on Crispy that unfortunately I don't have right now. We'll make sure that that gets into the show notes though, to where you can go and download the ebook for Crispy. And if you're live on LinkedIn, as soon as this session is over, I will put a link in the LinkedIn chat, at least that will take you to a page that can help you with Crispy in terms of getting started with it. So, Doug, thank you very much for that question. I appreciate it. Next, speaking of guide rails, this is a big guide rail, Stan.
Yes, yes. One of the most brilliant things, because Bob is the originator of the CRISPy prompt writing formula, and CRISPy is an acronym, as you probably guessed, started with context, which is what we're talking about largely here, and then telling the AI what role you want it to assume, and then inspiration, whether there are any specifics that you want it to focus on, any facets of the problem, the scope in terms of what type of format, how long, etc. Prohibitions. Now, prohibitions is what I'm going to talk about right now. But before I jump into that, the why in Crispy is you, which is asking it to basically interview you to give the AI your standpoint, your spin, your perspective on whatever the query is. Prohibitions. This is one of the most brilliant aspects of the Crispy framework, is telling it what you don't want. And most prompting frameworks that I've seen, and there are a bunch of them out there, they don't address the prohibition. So those of you who've been reading content produced by AI will probably recognize M dashes, the little two dashes right next to each other, or phrases like in today's rapidly changing business landscape. AI tends to generate those, and you can instruct it, please do not use M dashes. Do not start with sentences like, as we delve into the latest trends in the rapidly
Yeah.
evolving business landscape. So you can put up, as Bob mentioned, guardrails. You can say, please do not do this, this, and this. And probably, I don't know what, Bob, 8 or 9 times out of 10, it will get it right. Every once in a while, it will not.
Yeah, especially when it comes to M dashes. I mean, you can tell it M dashes, no M dashes, no M dashes, and yet you'll go through and find an M dash. So it's always you always obviously have to read whatever content, especially if you're using it for content development, because there are so many things that we never discuss here on Making Sales Social Live that you can use it for. But we mainly focus on content development and sales training and sales strategies and things like that. But you know, you have to read. You have to, especially if you're developing content, not only should you read, you should read it out loud so that it sounds like you. Because if you're reading something out loud and you start stumbling on words, guess what? It doesn't sound like you. And you need to rewrite it or have AI rewrite it. At that point, you're probably just going to want to rewrite it yourself. But and this actually probably gets into number 6 in our top 40 countdown is overcomplicating the prompts. So um, keep your prompts straightforward. That's actually another great advantage of the Crispy framework is that it really provides you with a framework. That's why we call it a framework that helps you to keep the prompts straightforward and simple as well. Because when you use that overly complex language, you're just going to confuse the AI, even with all of the latest versions that are out there, which means irrelevant responses, which means you're going to have to start chatting and go, no, I don't want this, I want this, I want that instead. So simplicity often leads to clarity, especially when you have crispy. So again, crispy is definitely going to help you out here. I can't tell you, like, when I'm on X or something like that and people are sharing prompts, and the prompts that I see sometimes in there are just pages and pages and pages long. And every once in a while, it's actually needed because it's handling like a difficult thing to start with. But let's face it, most of the stuff that we're going to toss at it is not going to be that difficult. So you need to really concentrate on keeping the prompts as simple and as crisp, see what I did there, as possible.
Yes, and if you do have a process that is somewhat complex, consider breaking it down into steps. In other words, ask for the highest level thing first, get that answer back, and then ask for more in a multi-step process rather than trying to do it all at
Right, yeah,
once.
and then what I've actually done that several times myself. In that initial prompt, let the AI know that you're doing that, that this is gonna be a multi-step thing, and that you will enter in one thing at a time, and then we'll answer that, and then we'll go to the next part. It'll even prompt you. It's like, "Okay, I think we're done. Are you ready for the next step?" Feel free to do all of that type of stuff, but to chunk it out like that is brilliant, and it does work. I've seen it work myself.
Yep, yep, very
So I
good.
think we're on the last one, Stan.
Yep, and number 7 is what we're calling user intent, which is only ask AI for as much as you need. Don't expect it to read your mind. If you want 5 bullet points, put that in your prompt. Don't just say, give me a list of um, marketing techniques that'll work uh, in the world of marketing today. So we keep talking about being specific. Make sure that you let the tool know this is what I'm looking for specifically, because otherwise, as the over helpful intern, it will go, as Bob mentioned, in a bunch of different directions, trying to please you so you can make your life easier and
Yep.
get and save yourself time
Yes, add overly
by doing
caffeinated to our description of intern as well, because it'll definitely act like that as well, which is great, except for, too much caffeine is never a good thing. But still, it's good, but you need to curtail it. And so when you avoid all these common mistakes in prompt writing, you can really significantly improve your experience with AI tools. You can also cut down on the time that you are using with it while at the same time just getting better results. So examine and experiment with these strategies and really chat with the AI when you're using it. Talk to it. I know it's going to sound weird when you first do it a couple times. It will become second nature much, much faster than you think it is, because we're all human beings. We want to chat with people. We generally want to help people. Same type of thing, except with chat. I have a feeling that you're really going to see improvements in the quality of the responses that you receive, especially when you have our ebook with you that details everything that we've just been talking about. It's free at socialsaleslink.com/mistakes. QR code. You see it on your screen if you're with us live right now. If you're listening to us on the podcast, this should be in the show notes as well. Socialsaleslink.com/mistakes. So anything else, Dan, or is it time to be like what Bryn's going to be like in a couple hours here and bring it in for a landing?
Yep, just wrapping up. The only other thing I'd mention is when we say chat with it, that can be via text, which is what we're used to doing. But now you can also dictate to it. So if you're more comfortable just literally talking to it using your voice, you can just press the little microphone button. And now you can do that on your desktop in addition to the mobile device. So you can do it on both.
Yeah, we are getting closer and closer ever to that Star Trek world where it's like computer help me blah blah blah. Yes, and then if you haven't seen a Star Trek episode where that happens, just trust me, we're very close to that already, and we're nowhere near the 23rd, 22nd century or wherever it takes place. So that's all very cool. So, whether you've been with us live or recorded via our podcast, thanks for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live. We do this every week, so join us. If you're listening to us on our podcast, as I mentioned before, which means that we're taped, and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. So, besides these LinkedIn Lives, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. So, catch those episodes as well. Socialsaleslink.com/podcast is where we have more information about the entire Making Sales social universe, I guess you can call it, since we're talking about Star Trek and stuff like that. So, when you are out and about, be sure that you're making your sales
Social.
excellent. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye now.